What's up everybody? Welcome back to another episode of B is for Build. In today's episode, we're working on our mid-engine 1967 Mustang Fastback. To give you a little background on this car, it was originally in the movie Need for Speed. It was a stunt car. It was a Bugatti. It got crashed into by a cop car, and then we bought it right off the movie set and brought it back here and un-Bugattified it and turned it into a 67 Mustang Fastback. We took it racing and we were actually getting ready to finish the project, and then I remembered about a post by this very talented designer, Karan Adivi. And he had made this amazing design of a Mustang Fastback, and I thought, I want to build that in real life. So we got in contact with him and he said, yes, build that in real life. That would be super cool. So we started down the road of that, building our own custom wide body skeleton, a frame out of metal and mostly tape, and a little bit of fiberglass work. And that leads us to where we are today. We are continuing to build this custom body kit. Very, very wide, very low, very aggressive styling, and we got to build it all from scratch. Not only that, but we're on a really tight deadline. This car has to be on a truck headed to SEMA in 18 days, where it will be proudly displayed at the Holley Motors booth in SEMA this year. So a lot's on the line and we got to get building. In today's episode, we're going to be focusing on fiberglassing in the body kit and building a completely custom front bumper. Stay tuned. Alright, so getting started, we went ahead and applied the 3 layers of fiberglass to each of the over fenders, and we've been filling in concave spots. We didn't want to have the concave, so this is a fiberglass reinforced body filler that's filling in this so it doesn't dip down, just goes straight. That's what we wanted. So we've done that on both back corners as well, and we're going to continue to do that on the front corners before we start sanding and shaping. Over in the front here, we're working on the front bumper. It's a very, very custom, very intricate piece that really makes or breaks the whole build. So it's going to be a really, really hard thing to nail, but I think the Cessanite is going to help us here. This is the time when we're really thinking that it's going to pay off. Now the other thing too is this bumper has to be easily removable because it is so low and it sticks out so far from the front tires that anytime you're not racing this car, if it's going on transport or it's street driving or something, the bumper's probably going to have to come off, or it's really at risk of hitting a lot of stuff. And being a custom fiberglass front bumper, you really don't want that to be the case. So we're building it to essentially have quick releases in there so the bumper can come off very easily and go back on easily. And Oscar's going to go ahead and build out the structure out of 1-inch square that runs the base, and then 1/2-inch round tube on the base. It'll all make sense when we build the frame. We finally settled on a bumper shape. So after cutting this thing up a million different times, covering it in Cessanite and putting it back, we spent a day and a half on this piece so far. That's the shape of the bumper. Now there is a big hole in the middle of the bumper, and it's important for the design aesthetic because it actually goes like kind of straight down, and then it hits the hole, and then it comes out the front really sharply right here. So that's a very hard part to build. That's what we got to build next, and then we can wrap this thing in Cessanite. In other news, Kyle has a Shelby GT500 gas cap. It's massive, it's awesome, it fits with our wide body. That's obviously just mock fit. Here's the journey of that happening. Guys, well, it's the weekend. I'm the only one here, so I think it's pretty safe to start making some dust. Do need to cover the Lambo and close the doors on the DeLorean. I will do that. I've spent a lot of time on this fender, and it's not really that close to being done, but I think I've got the strategy down and figured out now. So we're using low grit sandpaper on an air sanding block to shape and to keep straight edges, a little bit of using an orbital sander, and then some using of a flap disc too if there's just weird pieces of fiberglass that are stuck. The fiberglass is really strong, really hard to sand through. So basically the idea is just knock off all the high points in the fiberglass, anything that's protruding outside of like the straight line that we want, bring that all down, and then backfill with body filler, and then you're sanding huge majority of that body filler back off. That then kind of exposes any small high points in the fiberglass or whatever, and you get this nice straight edge that we need here. So I've kind of got this section about 70% of the way through, and well, we got like the whole car left to go. So at least we figured out a method though to make this thing work and make it all nice and smooth. Sanding fiberglass, not a fun job. All right, it's a new day though. Oscar's back here, so let's finish out this front bumper so we can get fiberglass on that. Things are progressing, but we've burned through almost an entire day just sanding, but I guess that's the name of the game when you're working with fiberglass. So we got a skim coat on this quarter panel fender, sorry, keep calling it a quarter panel, and then that quarter panel sanded and ready for its skim coat. And basically we sand, I'd say probably 90% of this body filler back off, and then we'll start working on the fine tuning of things. We want to start looking at the vent. So this big area right here looks kind of plain and you know, it's missing something, that's because it's supposed to have a vent. So we've got lots of ideas for vents, and we've got some old Shelby GT500 style side scoop vents that would work on a non-wide body car. So we want to start maybe cutting this up and seeing if we can integrate it into this to make a cool looking vent that still keeps the 67 styling. All right, guys, so we trimmed and we test fit and we test fit and we trimmed, and we got this scoop just how we like it. You can see a little bit of my my marker work here. That's a mark to cut out so the vent stays parallel to the body. The original design is on, here's the original design on the screen right now. That's on a 1970. And if you look at the door section right here, from here to here, on a 1970, it seems to actually bow out, which totally changes the vent design that Karana Devi, this very, very talented designer, originally designed for this wide body. So we wanted to do two things. One is keep the Shelby GT500 styling alive in this when we came into this vent section, because we also have the upper, they call that like, I think the sail panel vent, and we have the gas cap. So it's like, we really wanted to use these GT500 style vents if we could, and also we couldn't follow the rendering exactly because we don't have the same door situation. So we got creative and we put them on here, put it on here, and we absolutely love it. The only issue is integrating this vent takes a lot of time that we don't have. At the time where you guys are watching this video right now, we have 16 days until SEMA. So adding a bunch of custom fiberglass work is not something we should do, but this is why we are BS for Build and we run deadlines long and we work long hours and stuff, is because it's better to work through a night or whatever to get that on the car than to show up to SEMA and not do it. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna cut the other vent to match it exactly, and we're gonna start to fiberglass these in. You can see Oscar's also starting to get his skim coat of body fill on this. We just really have to, we have the raw shape here of exactly what we need to make. So now we're getting the body fill over there to make sure we're filling in any low spots and any pits and stuff like that. Then we're gonna sand the hell out of these things, and we should be left with a good body kit. But if you guys haven't noticed already, we're not professionals. I feel like every year around SEMA time, it's like worth reminding you guys, we're not professionals. We didn't come from the automotive world. Oscar welded handrails, he's a professional welder. I was a software engineer. Kyle was a Marine. So we are learning on this. Somebody mentioned that the bubbles that you guys left in the fiberglass, like the kind of delam from one layer to the other, is gonna cause huge problems. Boy, did it ever cause huge problems. We didn't know. We're still learning, and then so that's something on the next repetition that we'll do better. We use this really, really thick 1.5 ounce chop strand mat, and it kind of just wants to lay wherever it wants to lay. It fights gravity, it fights getting wet, it fights a lot of stuff. Use a thinner weave or use a twill weave cloth, and it would have sat down a lot more flat. And that's what we did on the front bumper. We learned from our mistakes and we went. So we're new at this. We're trying to do it our best. This is something we've never done, but this is what BS for Build is about. We get a lot of enjoyment out of doing new things and pushing our own limits. Doing it up against the biggest deadline of the year for our, like, one of our biggest sponsors being Holley. If you guys don't know, this is going to be displayed in the Holley booth at SEMA. That's a little sketchy, but we'll get it. We have a lot of faith in ourselves, and luckily Holley has faith in us too, even though they did call me and say that, well, they have faith in us. They have faith. They just like frequent updates to make sure we're not too far behind schedule. Let me put it this way. They have faith in us. They selected our car for their booth, but do I think they have a backup car already picked out? Yeah, I think they do, but that's not gonna happen because we're gonna have this thing looking amazing by SEMA. All right, back to work. All right, guys, it is the next day. We've got this rear fender about, I'd say 95% of the way there, if we're not counting the vent work that needs to happen. We've got full skim coat on this, waiting for sand up. Most skim coat on this in the middle of the process, and then this one did a different style of skim coat, and that needs to be sanded up. That's what I'm going to be working on today. But we're going to jump into the front bumper. We got our friend Zane here. Zane is filling in for Kyle. Kyle's in Europe. Zane helped us out 2019 on the Burnt Con a little bit. He's a friend of mine from high school, so he's helping us out while Kyle's gone, and he's probably going to be hopefully doing a lot of the filler work on this. So our bumper's fiberglassed up right now. And the game plan is now to trim around the edges, fiberglass reinforce those edges from the backside to make sure that none of the fiberglass pops off of our metal structure, so we have a really, really good bond there. And then this is pretty flat overall. There's not really a lot of wobblies or anything. So since it's such a small piece, it's pretty easy to work with. So we're just gonna be skim coating this guy and sanding it up smooth. This should be one of the easier pieces to do. So we're just gonna hammer down on it, trim this up, fill that, sand everything. Hopefully by the end of the day, we'll have good shape on all of our parts. Hey guys, just got back in the shop for another day. So I was AWOL yesterday at the hospital doing my cancer stuff. For those of you that don't know, about a year and 3 or 4 months ago, I went in because I had a mole on my back that was acting weird. I went in, I found out I had melanoma, skin cancer. Fast forward a little bit, we found out it was pretty bad, and I had about a year ago, I had a massive surgery, and the surgery went well, but unfortunate is we also took out some lymph nodes, and we tested those lymph nodes, and we found out that the cancer had spread to my lymph nodes, which meant that I had like a stage 3B melanoma cancer. And that's really bad. At the time, it's kind of a coin flip on whether or not you're gonna live the next 5 years. 40% of people don't even live 5 years from the time that they get diagnosed. So it was a scary time and a scary situation. But on the upside, there's this new medicine that had been invented over the last 5 years that is really improving people's odds of living. So I started treatment, and I started treatment with that medicine. And so this is where it gets kind of complicated. So the medicine is trying to kill cancer that we haven't found. We know that it spread to a lymph node, but we had to take that lymph node out of my body to know that it was in there. So it's possible that the cancer was only in that lymph node that got thrown in the trash. It's possible it never spread ever, or it's possible it spread to a lot of places. So we took the medicine to try and kill the possibility, the very high likelihood that the cancer would spread. You check on the cancer spreading by taking scans. So I get scans of my full body every 4 months. And yesterday I got a scan back, and this is my 1-year scan. And so I've been getting my body scanned every 4 months for the last year, and the scan came back clean. So it's super cool, super great news that I wanted to share with you guys. I don't know exactly what it means about odds and statistics of my likelihood of dying from this cancer or something, but it's great news is what it is. And then I got my infusion of more medicine because it's scheduled out to be a 1-year dose, so I have one more dose after this, and then that's my last one. And then we move on to scanning, and we just scan for the next 4 years. And if nothing ever shows up on those scans, then I'm done and I've beat it. But 1 year anniversary of no cancer in my body is pretty freaking cool, guys. So that's your cancer update. That's a cancer update I've been waiting to give you guys and hoping I'd be able to give you guys for a long time. So I am absolutely stoked. At the time of filming this, we have 13 days to finish these cars. And now I can just, to be very honest with you guys, I had a lot of anxiety and a lot of hard times on the mental side, because everybody knows when you're grinding and you got your head down at work, there's a lot of internal thoughts, right? And when you have anxiety over having cancer and being, you know, worried that you're gonna die and stuff, it takes up a lot of your mental time and mental, it's mentally exhausting is what I'd say. And so now I get the ability to just focus on this one thing that I want to focus on right now, which is building these amazing cars, and then I'm going to Vegas to celebrate. So, oh yeah, if you see me at SEMA and I'm a little tipsy, I am celebrating. It's good tipsy, all right? Anyways, let me show you where the build's at, and then I got to get down to my build. That vent right there, and now that we're starting to add the little duckbill spoiler, is really starting to just shape this car. And now it shouts like I'm a 67, because before we had a pretty blank spot there and it was a little, I don't know. The vent is the best thing ever. It looks super cool. Sorry, we got some high fill primer on here, so we're gonna sand this down a little bit more and smooth that out. But that is the vent. We got some mesh that's gonna go in there. It's nice and big to help accentuate, but it carries that body line over perfectly. And it's just the freaking coolest thing. And then so you can see that Oscar did a ton of work, and we just had to fiberglass these in because they were not shaping up to be a bolt-in affair. Possibly because we have a little extra fiberglass on here now. But the other cool thing is our widening of the hips. The extra 2 inches that we did on the hips of this thing, 2.5, is completely unnoticeable now. It all just starts to match in, and it flows, comes back to where it started there and back to where it started here. So this thing from a side angle, you have to use your imagination a little bit with the side skirts that are gonna come on there, and then having the rear trunk and the hood on there, and the front bumper. Front bumper is coming along great. This thing is a stunner. Like, people are going to drop their jaws when they see this thing at SEMA. So I am really, really happy with how it's going, but it's just a lot of body work and a lot of sanding and a lot of finishing work. And we just got a delivery of a boatload of parts for this thing. This is gonna be a nitrous car, and we got a ton of cool stuff going at it, and Holley EFI and all that good stuff. So make sure you subscribe. Why did the car just make that sound? It's the shock settling. I was like, what just happened? Make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss any of the episodes that we post for our journey between now and SEMA. As today is for us, what I'm trying to say is, as of right now when I'm filming this, we have 12 days left until SEMA. So big transformation needs to happen over the next week. I think it's still possible. It's just gonna be some long night. The look on Oscar's face says it's gonna be really long nights. And if you wanna see some behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, B is for Build. I'm always posting stories, and join us for this insane push that we're about to have for the final 12 days of building until we go on a truck for SEMA. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon. Peace!